Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Good evening, folks. How y'all doing tonight or today? Or whenever you listen, because, you know, it doesn't matter. We love you. We're glad to have you here. We appreciate every one of you taking the time. I especially appreciated the fans I met at WrestleCade once again. And when a big name wrestling person says, "Oh, I've listened to your podcast," don't it make you feel special, Nick?
It was weird, man, and we're going to get into that whole WrestleCade weekend here towards the end, because it was just a weird, awesome weekend, to say the least. But, you know, before we get started, man, you know, we always tell everybody, yeah, if we get a Patreon members and we get all those guys, we like to give them a special shout out. So before we do anything else, we want to thank Roberto Rossi. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right.
That's double J.
Yeah, he's one of our new mid-card status guys. We appreciate the support. And I do also want to remind Roberto, I sent him a message on Patreon. When you do that, we also give you a shout out on Twitter. So I asked just if you send the Twitter handle in, we'll give you a shout out on Twitter as well, because it's not just a shout out on the show, but it's also one on Twitter to try to pick you up some followers there as well.
Yeah, man, and I just want to meet you because you've done something where you've said that what I do here in my basement is worth your money, and I love you. I really appreciate people feeling that way about me. Thank you from the bottom of my little black heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to us, man. I mean, anybody that puts a little, you know, all the way back to, you know, some of our original Patreon members, I always like to show some love with the Littman. He's always got a special place in our hearts, right?
I sent him some really interesting photos of me with
at WrestleCade. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. You sent him some cool pictures. If you're listening, Littman, you know, what'd you think?
Well, you know, that's the thing. It's you need to come join us because it's a unique experience, and we'll say that for the next segment or the last.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up with WrestleCade. Well, we were talking about a little social media stuff, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. One of the big topics this week that we came across that we thought was really cool and needed to be talked about is Kevin Sullivan had a little bit to say about social media, and he basically made the statement that it sabotaged wrestlers' ability to get heat these days.
Yes.
You know, first I'll ask your opinion, and then I'll give you some notes and stuff that I've got on it.
I think if anyone can comment on getting heat, it's Kevin Sullivan. I saw him get more heat than anyone I've ever seen since, except for Adrian Street. Got him right up there on the wall. There's Kevin Sullivan. I'll get Adrian Street one day too. He knows how to do it, and I think when you look at the way social media has worked its way into everything in our lives, is there nothing that is not social media part? Is there not well, there are parts of our lives that social media isn't a part of, but the most part, our lives are part of it. We post pictures of our kids and our grandkids. Well, you got grandkids, I don't yet. But, you know, you post pictures of your grandkids on your social media. You tell people where you're eating. You tell people what you're doing. And wrestlers, when you see Braun and the famous picture of Braun and Roman on the trip in Rome together, or you make them likable people because you're not a heel on Twitter, or, you know, think about it. If you're not a jerk to everybody that you meet on Twitter, then people really don't believe what you're doing is a heel. Or if you're a babyface that sends a girl a picture of your dick, you're not really a babyface. It's hard to do sometimes. It's not believable. Wrestling is believable because it's not part of your everyday life. How do you take that, man?
Well, my thing with social media is there's the old statement from a lot of the guys we run into from time to time. They'll say that social media is one of the best things that ever happened to wrestling, and it's one of the worst things that's ever happened to wrestling.
Yeah.
And kind of what they talk about is, when they talk about getting heat all the time, or you just can't sustain heat, a lot of it has to do with the fact that just I mean, guys don't play the character all the time. That's their biggest challenge. Is, you know, if you're this nasty heel, but then you turn around and then you're nothing but nice guy,
dogs, and things like that. People can't hate you.
I mean, WWE's. I mean, I'm not bashing them because everybody does it, but you know, they send like all their heels go out and do charity work all over the world.
Especially your biggest heel, Stephanie.
You're right. So it makes it kind of difficult. So, you know, I get what they're doing, and it's different. It's not, you know, blah, blah, you know, all that good stuff. But, whatever. That's all we can say, right? Whatever. That's all you can. And then
it's a different world.
Yeah.
And I think an innovator today could draw heat, but you're going to have to be an innovator. You're not going to be able to do things the way you used to. You're going to have to go out there and come up with a new way to draw heat, or a new way to manipulate social media, or some way to come up with something nobody else is doing. You know, look at Chris Jericho. I mean, he's pretty cool when he's with his band Fozzy, but when he's back off the road as a heel, he does a pretty good job even on social media being a heel. You got to have that. You can't be expecting a production writer to be with you all the time to tell you what to post. You know, if you have to depend on a production writer to tell you not to post something that's likable, you're not going to be able to do it. You've got to live in your gimmick.
No, you're preaching to the choir. That's ultimately, you know, that people like, you know, Becky was trying to do it right. You know, she was trying to stay in character even on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Problem was everybody was in love with her. I mean, as far as either the character, so she was just getting even more over as a
thing, man. How can someone be so over and be so like for being hated? But it's an anti-hero thing.
Yeah, and she, you know, and that's what, you know, some stuff went down with her on SmackDown, which truth be told, we're not going to, you know, we're not even going to cover it, but you know, it was one of those things, if you could just play your heel character all the time, then you would be, like, we get it. It's never going to go, like, all the way back to like it used to be when, you know, the heels were like...
Out of the bottle. The genie is out of the bottle. I mean, you got guys like Jim Cornette, who I think is the greatest mind still alive in wrestling, who talks about, well, you know, they're ruined a bit, it's out of the... And I get that. But just because it's new and different doesn't mean it's shit. There's a way to make this work, and guys like Chris Jericho who are trying to do everything he can to keep his character fresh, you're not going to be able to do it the same way. You're not going to be able to like get your, for lack of a better word, to be a heel enough to get your tires slashed, you know, outside of an event just because you show up and wrestle and you're a heel on the show. You've got to be more believable, and there's got to be a way in there, and I don't know how to put it. But the guy that finds out how to innovate and draw real hatred and heat. I mean, hell, look what they did with Dean and Seth, where they try to make Dean talk about leukemia. He drew some heat on that, but then he's married to Renee Young, and we know about that stuff. You didn't know who people were married to in the old days. Who knows?
Right.
There's got to be a way to do this. It can't be. I mean, if people will rewrite this and people will innovate and people will come up with a way to be legitimate heels or legitimate baby faces, then they can integrate social media to it, and the guy that can do it the best will be the one that gets over.
Well, that you control what you can is what I tell them. Look, there's some stuff that's never going to go back to what it used to be. Control what you can and kind of make it as realistic as possible. That's just, you know, kind of the...
Keep complaining about the fact that it's different. You just have to figure out how to make different work. You know, that's all you can say. It's like these people that sit there and watch wrestling and hate on it. You don't watch wrestling to hate it. I mean, so you don't hate watching wrestling. You watch wrestling to hate wrestling. And why are you doing that? Why are you going out of your way to be such a negative influence on social media? I don't get it. I mean, I posted something positive about wrestling and over the weekend, and I got a couple of negative things. I said something positive back, and everybody on Twitter just liked the negative, and more people like the negative than like my positive.
That's just people like to be negative most of the time.
Yeah, but man, it's something we're supposed to enjoy. If this was work, I could get it. Okay, Nick? If I was watching something I do for a living and we were shitting on it, or something I do not like doing and we're shitting on it, it's one thing. This is something we're supposed to do for fun, and these people just sit on the internet and shit on it, and I don't get it. It's the social media tie-in again. People exist on social media just to complain about stuff.
Yeah, I mean, does that shock you? I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing is I mean,
like every other fan base, video games or whatever it is. You know, I'm playing that new video game, Fallout 76, and I've been enjoying it. But everybody is complaining about it. So I got a friend that doesn't have the game, and he's asking me about it. He said, "Well, what do you think?" And I like it. I'm having fun. Well, you don't like it because of this? You don't dislike this? No, I'm having fun with my experience. And wrestling's all about my experience to me.
Well, it should.
People need to put more value on what makes them happy and less about stuff. Like, for example, tonight and last night, I didn't watch Raw or SmackDown. Not because I don't love it. I was tired and busy. I worked 14 hours a day. I worked 12 hours on Monday. We just got back from WrestleCade late on Sunday night. I didn't have the energy to watch it. Does it mean I like wrestling less? No. But I just didn't have it. It didn't hurt my feelings. I didn't get to see it. Because, I'll watch the next one.
Well, let's you brought it up, so we'll talk a little bit about Raw. You said you didn't watch it, so I kind of cover some of it, what I was talking about. So Raw wasn't very good last night. And I'm not, everybody always laughs. Everybody says, I'm a WWE defender to the core. But no, it wasn't a very good episode. It wasn't the worst episode ever, which is what a lot of people were saying. But I do want to say this. I mean, I get it because they were like, oh, we saw a bunch of matches we've already seen in the past. We saw, Dolph and Seth Rollins again and this, to their defense, there are a lot of pieces of that Raw puzzle missing for a multitude of reasons. Roman Reigns, it is what it is. He has leukemia. He's out. Braun's injured. He's out. Alexa has the concussion. So, I mean, I know she had a segment, but she couldn't wrestle. Angle, for whatever reason, he's pretty much out. Cena's off. I know he's wrapped his movie. He's getting ready to come back and everything, but he's not there. So, I mean, essentially there's a chunk of segments and it's a pretty big star power lineup I just gave you that's just not there. Yeah. So, to be disappointed that, and here's the crazy thing that I kind of want to defend. So, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley are standing tall in the ring, and every Impact fan claimed Bobby deserves to be at the top, and everybody's been claiming Drew McIntyre needs to be at the top, and you get that to end Raw. I mean, or not end Raw, but it happened during Raw, and people aren't happy with it. So, and I get it. I'm saying with all these pieces that are dinged up, I think they're just trying to get through. Let's get through TLC. Let's get to Royal Rumble. Let's just get through the tough times. And the crazy thing was, everybody was like, all right, I'm going to bring it up. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. I read an article online, and it literally said it was the worst Raw in history, worst one ever. Went on to complained about a multitude of things, which were, a lot of things were accurate. But then it threw out a thing that the ratings plummeted the final hour. Well, guess what? Even up to the point we're recording the show, the ratings weren't out yet. So you kind of lose credibility when you say the ratings plummeted.
Was there a fact? And you don't have the facts.
Correct.
Now, you're probably right. It probably had shitty ratings.
Well, I disagree, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because we don't know.
Now, ratings always drop for the last hour.
Right.
That's why they were putting on the main event at 10 o'clock for quite some time. And I thought that worked well.
Well, that's the point of saying is, to say like, oh, the ratings dropped. But, to say plummeted, I thought was extreme. But to say the Raw ratings dropped the final hour, doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure out because they always do. So I was like, I kind of commented on the Facebook post about it and kind of said, there's lots of truth into what you said, but you just lose credibility when you said the ratings plummeted and you don't have the ratings because they're not out.
Nope.
Trust me, I had looked and there was a Nielsen statement saying they're delayed. They haven't caught up through the Thanksgiving holidays yet. So.
But you're saying these people they're not legitimate wrestling journalists?
Well, listen, are they legitimate journalists? I mean, say whatever, I guess, but, I'm just going to leave it alone.
The term wrestling journalist and these people that are posting stories, and there's all kind of websites out there posting stories, and there's something I forgot to talk to you about on the pre-show I want to talk to you about also.
Okay.
Something that happened in the wrestling journalism business and something that took off on social media that was the big thing over the weekend. Aria Blake's boyfriend apparently was offered $40 and something to come work a show. And he's like, no. I think it's from Florida to North Carolina. And the promoter came back with, if I made it 45, would you be interested? And it started this whole diatribe about independent wrestlers, and they bring them up and get paid, and everybody's like, well, blah, blah, blah. You got to do this, but do you reach a point in indie wrestling where you're not going to drive across the country and not have a match where you're in a promotion where you might have some insurance or something can happen? Are you continually going to be expected to drive long distances for $40 at a time?
Me personally, I don't know. I know a lot of people say things like, "Oh, well, that's what we do." Maybe it shouldn't be. I don't know. I'm not a wrestler, so I'm not really going to get into that. I'm not going to answer that question because I guess it would be how much you love to do it. But I totally get his point of saying, especially let's say he lives in Florida in his car. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to burn up $60-something in gas to get there and back. If I'm not breaking even, it's kind of pointless. Now I can see saying, hey, it's, do you break even but you're wrestling in a new promotion that it might earn you some more money down the road. Maybe, so there's lots of variables into it. But I would say ask guys like the Gymnasty Boys or O'Shea Edwards or, Pale Horse who are either hitting the roads all the time and,
they're drawing a lot more than that. I mean, we've got some insight into what wrestlers are drawing lately. We've had some unique information. We're not going to talk about it because that's all off the record. But they're making more than $45 for a trip like that.
Yeah. As well they should be.
Yes. And if you want talent, you're going to have to pay for talent. And I think people that are expecting wrestlers to work for exposure or a handshake and a hot dog, I think those days are over in independent wrestling.
I 100% agree with it. They should be. So speaking of, working for more than a hot dog and a handshake, or $25 here and there. All right, let's get into the meat of it. The rumors were all over the place this week. So this is going to be a chunk, a big chunk of a conversation. So bear with me here because a lot of this is legal and it's a lot of mumbo jumbo. So just bear with me here for a second. An LLC company named All Elite Wrestling was officially formed, and the address used was the Jaguar Stadium. And we've all heard the rumors of who, Jacksonville's owner being tangled up with basically the Elite to promote this. And, JR's name and Jericho's name have been tied in there. I don't believe that they're tied in as much as the rumors are. But we can all but confirm now that the Jaguars owner, he's involved. It's a pretty cut and dry that he's involved.
He's involved with something. They wouldn't have been able to use that address had it not been. And also it's most likely using the lawyers of an NFL football team's owner. So those are probably fairly file for the patent. So it's a fairly legitimate filing. Is it an XFL type filing where we don't know if it was just a tax dodge or is it just something to do for fun to draw attention off something else? I don't know. But it sounds to me like somebody is looking into forming a serious promotion because they formed they did a lot of patents, Nick.
Well, I mean, they copyrighted quite a few things, and what they used them were for entertainment and live events and product, etc. But it was AEW, which is All Elite Wrestling, obviously. There's AEW Double or Nothing, which has been the rumored for All In 2, with the rumored name of it, Double or Nothing. Then, of course, there was AEW All Out by itself, and some more. Oh, and Tuesday Night Dynamite, I think, was one.
That's supposedly the name of their weekly program. Right?
Correct. And everybody's like, oh, Tuesday night. Well, of course, because if SmackDown moves to Fridays when it moves to Fox, that would free up Tuesday night. People are already used to watching wrestling on Tuesday night, so they can just continue to watch wrestling on Tuesday night. So,
I mean, if they inherit a fraction of the SmackDown viewership, they've done pretty good for a new promotion.
Right. I mean, that's going to be the challenge, is drawing that crowd, from SmackDown. Other notes on it were, obviously it's the Bucks. It's the Elite as a whole is kind of what everybody's saying the rumors are, that they're going to form this thing. But for some reason, Meltzer is saying that it's the key component to the whole thing is the Bucks. That the Bucks owner, the Jags owner is like, if the Bucks aren't in, he's not interested.
No, he'd be foolish. Because you need all the drawing power of the Elite. You need all of them. And you need that extra thing that we said Chris Jericho would be a legitimate big name talent from the past that would give them a little for like legitimacy when you have somebody like Chris Jericho in.
Well, because let's be honest with you, this is going to be the thing that I'll say it. I think I may have said it on the show before. I've said it 100 times off air to you and to other people. I know everybody's like, oh, because they even say it's all of us or none of it. It's all, we're all in together. It's all for one. Yeah, well, I love the concept, but we'll see. Eventually, money talks. The Bucks are signed through December, I believe. Cody, Brandy are already free. So all of this.
Cody's still in the contract, but he's injured, right?
No, Cody's officially free to talk to whoever he wants to now.
Okay.
But my thing is, and this isn't, it's funny. I hate it when people say it's an unpopular opinion. But wrestling fans inside the bubble, wrestling fans think wrestling is bigger than it is.
Yes.
Outside people who are not into the wrestling world think it's smaller than it really is. Right. And what I mean by saying all that is, I don't know that even if you had all of the Elite, I don't think that as your core is a sustainable business model. I think you need something else.
You need something else because there's that certain mainstream appeal the WWE has, and an established fan base, and established names, and established talent, and formats, and commentators, and things like that. And you have more people. It's a good example again. I work with a girl who likes wrestling. I can talk to her about certain people in the wrestling business. I can't mention the Bucks to her because she has no idea who they are. But if I say John Cena and I say Total Bellas, it's an hour-long conversation at work. But she has no idea who Marty Scurll is, or she has no idea who Kenny Omega is, because they don't have that mainstream. And I think the majority of wrestling fans, we're not talking about us people on the internet. We're not talking about people who listen to the podcast. We're not talking about people who listen to any wrestling podcast, because they don't pay that much attention to it. They just turn in on Monday and Tuesday. And they're the same people who will tune in on Tuesday night and won't even know that wrestling's going to Friday night somewhere else.
Right. But
they don't pay that much attention to it. They just their entertainment.
Well, I assure you, people are going to know SmackDown's moving to Friday because they're going to advertise the shit out of that. They're going to know it's moving to Friday.
I hope so, but I mean, how are you going to advertise on the USA that you're moving to Fox?
They did it when they moved to TNN. They did it on TNN when they moved back to the USA.
Okay. Well, that's a viewpoint I did not know.
So, Yeah, but like you were saying, like Jericho, things we've heard from sources, he would be a great get, but I don't think it's happening. From everything we've heard.
Well, I've heard Vince is interested in stopping him.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Vince thinks he's going to go over there, Vince will probably throw all at it to keep him. JR, we all know that JR can't renegotiate with New Japan, which is why he's gone from New Japan now because of his contract with WWE. But when that contract comes up, he could go. He could be the commentator.
Yeah.
And he would lend a lot of credibility to him, make him legit. But I just think Jericho ends up back at WWE, so I don't think he's involved. So they're going to have to figure out a piece of the puzzle that they just don't have right now. The Elite alone's not going to cover it. You'll draw a big crowd, but I don't think overall it's sustainable.
So you'll draw a wrestling fan crowd. You will not draw a casual fan crowd. You will not buy the typical person out there. Because, we go to wrestling events and we see a shitload of Bullet Club t-shirts. But you go to the gas station and how many do you see? Or you go to the grocery store and how many do you see? I mean, I work in a grocery store and I don't know if I've ever seen a Bullet Club shirt come in the grocery store.
Right. I mean, and the big thing is they're going to be facing a big, huge uphill battle because we've said it time and time again. WWE is just they're keeping people under contract. They're signing new guys. The big signing this week was Walter. Obviously, everybody's saying he signed.
I'm so excited about that.
The funny part is, it goes back to the same thing. It's the casual market. I don't think knows who he is. Probably doesn't care.
And even he's on NXT UK, still people are not going to know.
But it'll be a hotbed. That's where he should end up, don't you think?
He's got to stay in Europe. That's where he's already accepted as part of one of the heavy hitters on the indie scene over there. He needs to stay there. He's actively involved in the wrestling school in Germany that he's a part of. He really needs to stay in Europe where his appeal is broad. And if he can make it something he can translate, bring him over. But I would stay where you can make money with him first.
Well, I mean, because NXT, I don't know if you read this. Oh, shit, I can't believe this isn't even in my notes. I don't even know if it's accurate. That's why it wasn't in my notes. I couldn't verify it. But based on the WWE's own numbers, more people watch TakeOver than Survivor Series.
No, you shouldn't.
No, on the down, from the WWE Network's numbers, they rank the shows for that week. Everything came out that TakeOver actually had more views than Survivor Series. So the day of coming, which I said that because I was leading to this, if NXT, we talked about it last week, has it reached a level to where, now I know it's not 2 million people watching like Raw and SmackDown or whatever, but that many people watching the product itself, it's becoming a sustainable own brand. Are they ready to make NXT UK the next developmental brand?
That would be great. I mean, but I don't know how it's going to be this year, but last year NXT was working at a loss financially.
Well, we'll see, because I don't know if that's the case anymore.
But then again, they don't figure the people that buy the network to watch. When they figure it out, they don't figure in that vague thing where, do you buy the network just to watch NXT?
And I argue this. Do they count the Performance Center against NXT? Because if you do, I don't think that's fair either.
No, that's a good point too.
So, I mean, it would strictly be, you'd have to base it off of the expense of the product, and yeah, because you can't even factor in who has the network just for NXT.
And you're marketing a product directly to wrestling fans, okay, without commercials except for your stuff, and people are buying it, people are watching it. So if you can expand on that and bring another product that's going to be indie-ish to the network and bring more eyes and more talent in, and perhaps open up a European market where you have a lot of subscribers over there to watch NXT UK, that would be fascinating. And you know how big they want to be in India. You know how big they want to be in China. That's just, to me, would be a natural extension of that.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, and it's, I'm sorry, I was trying to cheat. I was actually trying to I was trying to Google, this week's, views, because I wanted to see for sure. And I know I should have done it. This is,
My favorite thing about it is when, they post the views of shows, and whatever show Conrad was talking about is up there that week. Isn't that cool? That you can see a big markup on a show just because it was on Something to Wrestle or,
They made the comment today, you talking about the Thanksgiving episode?
No, I'm just saying that there's always a marked increase in particular WWE network shows when Conrad and Tony or Conrad and Bruce discuss them.
Oh, right, exactly. But this was a funny thing. They made a joke today. I was finishing the show from Thanksgiving because we were gone all, weekend for WrestleCade. And I came across a weird thing where they made the comment of more people watched Survivor Series, like watch along, than watched it when it originally happened.
That's insane.
Like when they, with pay-per-view buys, if it was, okay, I have them in front of me. It took me a second. I apologize, guys. Number 1 was NXT TakeOver. Survivor Series was number 2. So yes, TakeOver had more views on the net.
That's nuts.
Yeah. It's wow.
And that means people are buying the network more to watch those pay-per-views, those NXT pay-per-views, than they are the big pay-per-views.
So kudos, and the whole point of this whole thing where we were going was leading us into, does that let NXT UK become like the next level developmental territory, and NXT starts growing into the brand?
Or does it become equals? Or you present them all as developmental territories, and they're all, some big network. Ship talent down. You're going to need some people to get on that show to establish them at the UK show. Put some people on there. Put Out Black. Put some of the other guys over there.
Well, the roster's getting it's already pretty stacked with Pete Dunne, the people that are over, Tyler Bate, the guys that are over there.
Those mustache mountain guys are super over.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and then we're thinking if Walter can go there as a starting development area, and it's a potential to do it because one of the topics we want to discuss this week is, there was an article that came out after, which I will address, that there's a rumor going around that the UK stars were getting new contracts, so they were getting raises because they were going to work. They were going to be told not to work for indie promotions that were not affiliated with WWE, kind of like ICW Progress, WXW out of Germany, kind of have deals with WWE, so they'd still get to work with those, but not the others. But I know several guys came on, Twitter and defended it and said that is not actually accurate. So it's not true to an extent. So I don't know what they're talking, maybe everybody didn't get the same deal. It's only the top tier guys. I don't know. But Pete Dunne was one of the guys that made the comment. So
yeah, I mean, you'd be a fool not to lock him and Tyler Bate down right now because they're super young and super talented. Some older guys I can see maybe they're not that big a draw, or lock down Tony Storm definitely, and some of the other women that are doing so well.
Right, because you've got like NXT TakeOver Blackpool coming up January 12th. And the argument being they've run some house shows over there. The numbers are a little bit disappointing. And the argument could be made, why would I pay $40 to see them at an NXT show or whatever the price is, I don't know, when I can go see them at a local indie show for $10.
Exactly.
So now, that does make sense.
It's one of those things, we love to go to the indie shows. And imagine if you could see the talent on an indie show that you're seeing on these other programs. You would go where they're more approachable.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine if you could go to a WrestleCade show and get Cassius Ohno's autograph at a table or something, you never know.
Well, that's the thing. He was there, but he wasn't. He was signing and taking pictures, but it was kind of just like
casual.
Yeah,
he wasn't working.
No, he was actually working Rachel Ellering's booth at Queens of Combat, which was like surreal. And he did last year too.
Mm-hmm. Which we're going to get into all of that in a minute because that's going to take forever for us to cover. So anyway, so I think NXT UK has a huge potential. I'm okay with if they locked them up. I know a lot of people complained about it, but I'm fine with them locking up anybody they want to in the UK as long as they're paying them enough to keep them happy. I personally don't care.
As long as they're making a good living, why would you want to work this little shit?
Who are we to judge, right? If the worker, if he's happy with it, I mean, who are we to say yay or nay, right?
Feeding your family. You got a bed to sleep in at night. You ain't sleeping in your car because you're working your way back across shows all across England. Yeah, do what you can, man, to make yourself happy.
Yeah, getting some exposure and getting out there, especially for NXT UK. I think the brand's got a huge potential. So good luck to them, man. I'm happy for them, and I can't wait for the pay-per-view on January 12th, or live event, whatever the hell they're calling them now, because it's not a pay-per-view. I keep saying that. I've been saying it for the last couple of years, and it's like, it's not a pay-per-view anymore.
It's a network event. Triple H is so brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about making the right moves at the right time. And man, here's the thing. Let's talk about, Thanksgiving's come and gone. It's pretty blunt to say. We talk about how ratings are unpredictable. Impact, the rumors of the tapings came out of Las Vegas that the show was just horrible. That's what we had heard, read, everything by people that had attended the show.
The taping. That people said that about before it aired.
Yeah.
If you were smart.
Well, here's the thing, because we talk about this all the time. Can we get the finished product before you actually kind of dump all over it? Because the ratings, again, ratings are unpredictable, so I don't put that too hand in hand. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about at Raw. Raw could have been it could have sucked, and the ratings can be good because people just didn't have anything else to watch.
Yeah, if it's the only show in town, the ratings are going to be up a lot more.
Here, and that was, you're exactly saying what I'm saying here. Impact comes on at 10 o'clock in a freaking horrible time slot they have for the last few weeks now, and they've taken a beating on the ratings. So they were up again about 23, 24, whatever percent. 124,000 people watched. No big, everybody's like, 124,000? Dude, that's a good thing for them as in the last few weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
The football games, they're pretty much all ending by then. People don't have to work on Friday because of the long weekend. They can stay up till 10 o'clock and watch, Impact. And you know what? It was fine. And the product has been getting better and better.
Yeah, it's a lot of good talent. We saw a lot of those talent at WrestleCade.
Yeah.
A lot of good talent, a lot of good people, people working hard, a lot of great up-and-coming stars. Kier Hogan's the young. Another two I met at WrestleCade. I wish Jordan Grace would have been there. She's on there right now. Moose was there. Johnny Impact was there. Taya Valkyrie was there. These amazing talents that Impact has, and they're doing great things with. It's just not getting out to the masses because it's on Pop TV.
Well, that's one of the rumors that are going around is that they are in the middle of negotiation. Technically, the contract, their TV deal ends at the end of December, but they've kind of worked out a deal. I believe they're going to still continue to air for at least the first quarter on Pop TV, but they are in negotiations with Sci-Fi, who, by the way, they used to, a long time ago, carried some WWE content on Sci-Fi.
Yep.
And then WGN, who currently is carrying that Ring Warriors.
You think WGN is as close you can get to a national network without being a national network. It's like the old TBS.
It's the last of the superstations.
Yes.
And True TV, by the way, also is apparently somebody they're negotiating, which I don't watch. I don't think I can watch anything on True TV.
Well, Lizard Lick Towing is coming back, and, I like a good lizard licking.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a show.
You don't have to bother, man. Anything that says lizard licking in it, I'm not really sure that I'm going there.
Okay, cool. I will hold my synopsis.
You know what? We'll do that off the air. You can give me the breakdown of lizard licking. But man, like I said, people are missing out on Impact. I really think they're missing out on Impact.
Oh, it's a great show.
Yeah, if nothing else, DVR the damn thing and watch it.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I DVR every episode. I don't get to watch every episode, but I don't watch every episode of Raw. I watch when I want to, and I watch what I want to, and I watch when I have time to watch it. Because I like it. It's not my life. I don't feel like I have to watch or pressure myself to watch wrestling and get all butthurt about things.
I mean, a great example of that, man, is like WrestleCade that we just got back, from a long Thanksgiving weekend up there. They offer you so much wrestling, but you just don't have to go to all of it if you don't want to.
No, there's no reason to go to all of it. You go and see what you want to. And enjoy FanFest, or enjoy being in the bar chit-chatting, or just sit in the hotel lobby and fan gawk. You know? I watched Harley Race eat breakfast. How bizarre is that? I saw Bob Backlund doing headstands in the bar with Gene Okerlund commentating on it.
And Abdullah chuckling about it.
Yeah. Seriously. Where else are you going to see something like that?
You don't see it much, and I mean, that's truth be told, man. That's why we've said it. We're going to say it right out of the gate right here. If you haven't been to a WrestleCade, you need to make it a priority if you're a real wrestling fan, especially old, you love old wrestling as well as the new stuff. Tracy and those guys up there, I mean, give them a follow on Facebook, WrestleCade, Twitter, WrestleCade. I mean, like I said, we bought our tickets way back in like the spring of this past year, back in 2018, obviously in the spring, because tickets just go flying off the shelf and there's so much to do.
Yes. Oh, it's so amazing. And all the different fan things and the signings and the little, panels. I mean, how was that ECW panel, which was so bizarre? Okay. You got all the old guys from ECW, and I was most impressed with Blue Meanie and Roadkill out of that whole panel.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have to PG the hell out of some of these stories. I mean, but let's just walk right through it. Like, everybody wants to know, like, what do you get for WrestleCade? I mean, dude, we're talking Friday night. There was the Showcase of Champions show, which you went and saw like a match.
No, I saw like 4 matches.
I know, I'm kidding. I was like, you went for one match. I didn't even go. I was having such a good time. And I guess, hell, let's start there. I mean, we hooked up with some, with Jay-Z Flair, his beautiful wife. We met Hoop through him, good buddy of his.
Yes.
And we're having a great time with those guys. We were just kind of killing it in the bar, hanging out, just man, it's real cool because I try to explain to somebody, man, it's just cool to hang out with other fans like yourself. And
without pressure.
Well, I mean, just hanging.
Yeah. And nobody's saying, well, Vince, McMahon, that. No, you're just enjoying the weekend and having fun. So I moseyed on across the street and to the Benton Convention Center just to watch the Harlow O'Hara versus Lufisto match, which was phenomenal. Harlow O'Hara, to me, has the best working bunch of any woman in the business. I love seeing her work. Also somebody, we saw her on her 5th show. Our 5th match was our first match going to see indie wrestling together as a podcast. And she's been kind of like somebody I've always loved to follow. She's super sweet, super nice, and a badass. And so we got to see her work a show. I came back to the bar and we were socializing. We meet wrestlers and we meet Jimmy
Wrestling, yeah, on Twitter.
Yeah, who was super cool, man. Had a great time with him. Had a great time with who. Wrestlers were just stopping by the table to chit chat with us. Not because we were anything special, just because we were fans of the bar just talking. And everybody is so approachable there. It was just so nice and pleasant, and everybody was so good and friendly to us. Lovely evening. The next day we got up to go to the Fan Fest, which opened. We went down to the hotel, the hotel restaurant. We had this nice breakfast among, the Barbarian,
Abdullah
the Butcher, and Harley Race.
Eli Drake was there that morning. Carlito was there.
Yeah, it's like, how am I having breakfast with all these guys? Now, they're doing their own stuff, but they were there in the just watching them and seeing how they interact with people. So we go from there. We get over to the Fan Fest, and it was huge. It was so much bigger than last year. It's such a bigger room. We go in, and my eyes light up, and I was off to the races, man. I almost ran away.
Well, it's like I said, you made the comment. It was like you going into Toys R Us for the first time.
Exactly.
Because it's
when I was a kid.
Yeah, when you were a kid, obviously. I mean, but there's legends there like Harley Race, the Road Warrior Animal, that generation. Because I'm kind of giving tiers here. Then there's Kane's there, JR's there, Jerry Lawler's there.
Yep.
Nikita Koloff, the Rock and Roll Express. But then there's there's a wave of the current guys. I mean, Johnny Impact's there. I mean, a lot of the women talents there. And then the crazy, like I said, there's surreal moments of. I ended up working and helping Top Rope Belts table out because Jay-Z Flair was there, and just figured, hey, I could, he looked a little swamped when I first got there, so I figured to help him out. And before you know it, I'm turning around talking to Camille from, Nick Aldis's new muscle at NWA.
Yep.
A conversation with Jeff Jarrett behind me, on the other side.
Yeah, how weird was that?
And you're running around
I'm running around. I got to give the Queens of Combat mad props on their tables with such great female talent, and they were all signing autographs for $10. And you can't get these level of autographs. I got Sue Young. I got Kiera Hogan. Impact. Oh, actually, Kiera Hogan was with WrestleTopia. Shout out to Justin WrestleTopia for the great prize package he gave me with this awesome Hulk Hogan 8x10. How about this? Look at the Hulkster, man.
Well, they can't see the Hulkster, but.
Oh, sorry, we're on audio now. Well, it's really great. Justin WrestleTopia, you need to check this guy out. He is not only a huge wrestling fan, he has a wrestling collectible and memorabilia business, and he also runs shows. You got to check out WrestleTopia. Look into that. It is at WrestleTopia on Twitter, and Facebook is one WrestleTopia. You got to see this stuff, folks. He's a really good guy. I had a lot of fun talking to him. So we go to this amazing fan fest. I see all these people I've always wanted to see. King Kong Bundy was there, and just, I ran around chasing down Alicia Tout just to say hello to her for Lewis. And then I couldn't never catch up to her, and I turned around, and I'll be damned if she is standing right next to the Top Rope Belts room. Like the bench, okay? Sitting right there next to their table. And I walked up to her and started talking to her, and it was like a friend, like an old friend. She was so nice. Everybody is so nice. Nobody was a jerk to me all weekend. None of that stuff you hear about wrestlers being assholes. None of it. We went from the Fan Fest, and we had the next match, the next big show, the WrestleCade Super Show, which was, oh my God. How many people do you think were there? 7,000, 8,000 people?
Oh, I don't know. I know they set a new attendance record. It was packed to the gills. So much so that, I jokingly say this because it didn't bother us to do it, obviously. I gave my seat up twice.
Yeah.
Just to move to, because families were involved and getting kids closer to me was no big deal.
Yeah, just let the kids have the seat.
Yeah. So we moved. We ended up see
their enjoyment.
Yeah, standing on the side, catching the show. I'm good. We're always standing at shows anyway. So, card headlined with Nick Aldis for the NWA title versus Jack Swagger. We'll call him that because that's what everybody's going to know him as. But top to bottom, they always do a good solid card. And that's my thing, man. If you just, hey, you got all this wrestling between Friday night, Saturday night, and then 2 shows on Sunday.
Yes.
You don't have to go to everything if you don't want to.
Just do what you want.
It's cool. And then, you got the panels, like you said. We got something to wrestle live, with Bruce and Conrad. We got to meet them, take a picture, get an autograph.
That was the best show. Special guest Kane and Tom Pritchard. Okay. I've seen Tom Pritchard do panels before. Never seen Kane do anything like that. I might love Dr. Tom, don't get me wrong. But Kane was, I've never seen him outside of his gimmick or outside of running for mayor. I've never seen him just being a human being. And he was super cool. Yeah. And the stories were awesome.
And I think they did a great job. And, you were talking about it Sunday morning, same thing.
Yep.
The ECW panel, it was, pretty funny. I mean, obviously, with New Jack on there, we knew there was going to be some humor. I know you were impressed with Blue Meanie and Roadkill.
Yeah, Blue Meanie was super cool. Roadkill was, I never expected him to be that talkative and well-spoken because he was just a monster. Blue Meanie was so super cool. C.W. Anderson was the leader of the whole thing. And that's one guy I've met him in how many elevators have I rode with C.W. Anderson? At least 4 times I've been in an elevator with C.W. Anderson at WrestleCade. I really want to sit down and talk to him one day to get some feedback from him. He's still working today. And that was a great thing. And then we go to the Queens of Combat show, which, probably some of the best women's wrestling I've ever seen. I got to see, Faye Young, Jesus Christ.
Sue Young.
Mae Young. I got to see Sue Young, and I got to see Faye Jackson. I got to see Willow Nightingale, Brittany Blake.
Harlow was on that card again.
Harlow was on that card again versus Maddie Max. I saw, Maddie Max was on the show. We helped sponsor. A lot of people that have been guests on Savannah Evans was on the show. We helped sponsor. It was so nice. And everybody's so nice. We cut out before the AML show, but because we got to get back to town because, the kids got to go back to school on Monday. I had to go back to work and I hate missing it, but I did run into the Gym Nasty boys all the time over Saturday and Sunday, which was cool. Hung out in the hotel bar, got to see Huckabee, got to see Mika Vilas,
yeah.
not Mila Vilas,
yeah.
Mika Vilas, from AWE. I got to see all kind of people that I would see in Atlanta already, but then I got to meet all these new people sitting in the hotel lobby. And there was pizza from, Rafe and his friend, which I still haven't found on Twitter yet. I got to find you, boss. And Jimmy brought all this beer and we just sat down in the beer, We sat down in the lobby drinking beer. We met wrestlers. We met fans. We met just people who were just hanging out.
How about the highlight of my Saturday, and I'm going to cut it there because, that was the crack that we have. James Mitchell came over, the devil himself, as I jokingly said, came over and told us he had listened to our podcast. And I was like, holy shit, the devil listens to the podcast. But folks, what we're kind of, all these stories that we're kind of, we're kind of putting together here is kind of, we're not trying to tell you that you should get out to WrestleCade. We're telling you need to get out to WrestleCade.
Yeah, and that's the way to just be a fan again. Enjoy it. Go out there and enjoy wrestling for what it is.
You're going to meet some great people. You're going to get to, rub elbows with some great wrestlers. So buy your tickets next year. Make it a point to get out there, for crying out loud. That's the biggest thing we keep telling everybody. You'll enjoy yourself. I know Lewis is kind of making a plan. He's going to join us next year. We threw out the challenge to Lippman to get down there and see us. Hell, maybe he can meet Lewis in Detroit or whatever, and they can come down from there together.
Well, I got to see a lot of Lippman's favorite talent.
Yeah, exactly. It's a true wrestling fan of any generation.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal show. There, between the fan fest and on, I think we're going to maybe do it as a vendor next year. I
hope so. I really do hope so.
I just think it'd be real cool to try it out as a vendor, and kind of go from there. But like I said, man, Tracy, top notch. We appreciate, all the hard work you guys put in. Did a great job at WrestleCade. Shout outs to Jay-Z Hoop, and Jay-Z's wife, Jimmy Wrestling. And of course, like I said, Rafe, we met those guys on that. Hoop, that whole group, man. It was just cool hanging out with everybody. Can't wait to see them again. Hopefully we can do it again before next year. But if not, hell, that's what WrestleCade's for, just catch up with all those guys. And like I said, top to bottom, it's well worth every penny you're going to put into it. Driving, flying, whatever. Stay at the Marriott. That's where we always recommend.
It's super nice. They just had finished remodeling. They were remodeling it last year.
Yeah.
This year it's all remodeled. It's all finished up. Man, the rooms were so nice. The shower was so nice. Bathrooms, beds, everything. Top-notch hotel.
I agree.
Top-notch bar.
Man, you can't beat it. Hey, before we get out of here, I know we've got some stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're super fired up with, the December 7th, Southern Honor Wrestling, Gary Lamb and those guys up in Canton, Georgia, definitely. Running a kick-ass show. Just make sure you follow them on Twitter and Facebook. We're sharing it a lot as well. And then now that it's kind of official, my shoot job is kind of sponsoring a show for Southern Fried Championship Wrestling December 15th. It's a total charity show. So I wanted to kind of get the word out there. Let's
do some good things and help some good people and watch some good wrestling.
Yeah, I mean it's raising money for a scholarship fund that David Manders, owner of Southern Fried, wanted to get started. So all the ticket sales and I believe the concession stands as well, all of it's going to go to fund those scholarships. So man, we want to pack the house. We want to get like 400 people there. It's December 15th at Monroe, Georgia. Follow it at Southern Fried Championship Wrestling or Southern Fried Fan Club, either one on Facebook. It's easy to follow. Man, it's the last show of the year too. So after December 15th, they won't be back until January.
It's time to take your Christmas break after that, folks.
So get in and man, pack that house. Like I said, man, we really want to get like 400 or 500 people in that building. Just pack it out, to get that scholarship as high as we can possibly get it. So, you know, and then I would be remiss if I don't say, you know, Woodman Life's kind of like I said, my shoot job's funding that. So definitely want to make sure that we get that building packed to the house to fund those. So man, between Southern Honor Wrestling and Gary and them on the 8th and then the 15th is going to be that show. I know there's other shows in there we're going to try to make, here and there. We'll see. What else you got over the next couple of weeks, man? I know we're getting into the holidays.
That's all I'm doing, man. I got a lot of rest to catch up on, a lot of work to do. Still trying to get things finished up with the furnace here at the house. So I'm just hanging in and getting everything I've done. I'm going to be contacting so much talent in the next 2-3 weeks, getting people on. I got a bunch of wrestlers. Some of that's going to be dropping on the Patreon early. A lot of great content. I got a lot of insider stuff coming out about some new promotions and some hot women stuff. So look forward to that, folks. There's going to be some good stuff coming out of the podcast. I know Lewis has some amazing talent coming up too.
Yeah, he's booked for December already. His entire month is booked.
Yeah.
So again, man, you know, we're I know it sounds like we're shilling it, right? But go over to patreon.com/tapped out pod because a lot of those interviews we put there early. And so you can have those sometimes as much as a week early, over there as well as you know, show prep. Like we said, we know we put that up for free last week and this week. It's probably going to be the end of it. It's probably, as far as show prep on Twitch and stuff, for free. So after that, everything's going to be back to being, you know, exclusive for the Patreon members. So there's just extra stuff and we're even just kind of loading Patreon up with as much stuff as we can. So subscribe there. That's the best thing we could do, that I can tell you to do. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com, grab a shirt. There, you know, a couple of them there. The original, just Tapped Out podcast shirt. And then, of course, the I'd Tap That shirt as well. And then, man, most importantly, we always tell you, man, go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere. Let's subscribe to the podcast. Get your weekly download there. And then, you know, of course, social media. Where do they always find us, man? At Tapped Out Pod.
Tapped Out Pod.
Yeah.
Tapped Out Pod. Tapped Out Pod, you put Tapped Out Pod into anything. It doesn't matter what kind of search engine is that, and all of a sudden it's like, there we are.
Yeah. Twitter.
Everything you possibly imagine, folks.
Yeah. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Where it's all at Tapped Out Pod, at Tapped Out Pod, you know, bam, 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 tappedoutpod.com is the website. You know, go there and check out the old archives. Believe it or not, man, most people may not know this. We're going to sign out here in a second, but this is episode 555.
555 episodes in less than 3 years, people.
Yeah, so we were cranking them out there for a while, and we kind of slowed down pace on purpose because we were, you know, it was getting rough. It was kind of rough to keep up with that pace. We were going to burn out, right, man?
Well, I'd rather tap out than burn out.
Yeah. Well, man, guess what? If you got nothing and I got nothing, what time is it?
Time to tap out.